In 1991, a rising young journalist named Daniela Hale walked into an interview in Bayfield, Louisiana, and was never seen again. For 13 years, no body, no answers, only silence. But then a storm hit, and from beneath the ruins of an old church, something surfaced, a sealed metal case. Inside, a press badge, Polaroids, and cassette tapes that would shatter everything this quiet southern town thought it buried. Now, her sister, a disgraced prosecutor, is coming home to uncover the truth, to confront a system that protected the guilty, and to finish the story Daniela started, no matter what it cost her. This is the true story of betrayal, conspiracy, and a journalist who refused to stay silent. She never came home from the interview, but 13 years later, her tape blew the lid off this southern town. Welcome to Family Crime Chronicles, your ultimate destination for chilling true crime stories. We uncover the darkest corners of real-life mysteries, twisted affairs. Make sure to watch this video to the very end, and if this story moves you, give the video a like. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will never miss an upload. Now, let's dive into the story. The sky broke open like a long-held secret. Rain poured down in sheets across the cracked shoreline of Bayfield, Louisiana, a sleepy coastal town that hadn't changed much since the early 90s. Rusty pickup trucks idled in front of shuttered bait shops. Paint peeled off the water towers, and the air smelled of sea salt and memory. That morning, the storm was relentless. Wind clawed at the trees lining the old bayou road, bending them until they threatened to snap. Most people had hunkered down, but not 15-year-old Travis Gilroy, bored and half rebellious. He ignored his mother's warnings and biked out toward the bluff behind the abandoned St. Aurelia Church, a crumbling relic no one had stepped inside for decades. Something shimmered in the mud, half exposed by the storm's fury. Travis kicked at it. Metal. A box. Heavy. He wiped away grime and rust, revealing a corroded lock and a faded sticker. Property of Bayfield Parish Sheriff's Office. Inside, the past waited, silent and damning. An old press badge. A worn cassette tape. A strip of Polaroids. A crumpled evidence slip with a name written in smudged ink. Daniela Hale. The box's discovery would trigger a reckoning 13 years overdue. Jessica Hale didn't get many phone calls anymore. Not since the scandal. Not since Atlanta's headlines had smeared her name in thick, judgmental ink. Once a rising star in the DA's office. Now she lived alone, her days filled with muted news reports and unopened mail. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She let go to voicemail, but something in her gut, that old prosecutor's intuition, tugged at her. She listened. Miss Hale, this is Detective Elijah Brooks from Bayfield. Something's come up. It's about your sister. Jessica didn't move, didn't breathe. He continued. I think you should come back. We found something. Jessica drove past the sign she remembered from childhood. Bayfield, home of Southern hospitality. Beneath it, someone had graffitied. Unless you ask too many questions. She smirked bitterly. The town still had that quiet rot to it. Charm on the surface, menace underneath. The kind of place where secrets didn't just hide, they were protected. Detective Elijah Brooks waited near the bluff. He was lean, weathered, eyes sharp, the burden of too many dead ends. He offered a nod, not a handshake. You look like your sister, he said. Jessica didn't reply. They knelt by the evidence box, now sealed in plastic. She disappeared during a story on land corruption, Brooks said, voice low. We thought maybe she just ran. No body, no motive, no pressure to look harder. You didn't look hard enough, Jessica snapped. Brooks didn't argue. Jessica sat alone in the motel room that night, staring at the contents of the evidence box laid out on the table. Daniela's press badge, faded but intact. Her photo stared up at her, youthful, defiant, full of promise. The tape, unlabeled. She borrowed a cassette player from the front desk. The motel clerk had dusted it off like an antique. Jessica pressed play. Static. Then her sister's voice, soft, focused, urgent. They don't want this out. Someone followed me again. The farmhouse compound. It's real. I have proof. But I don't think I'm safe. The tape crackled, cutting off mid-word. Jessica sat frozen. For the first time in years, she felt it. That fire again. The need to fight. To unravel. To expose. Her sister didn't run. She was taken. And Jessica would find out why. Word spread fast in Bayfield. Jessica Hale was back, and poking around. She stopped by the courthouse. Faces turned. Whispers followed. The judge who once smiled at her now avoided eye contact. Even her family home, shuttered and rotting, seemed to turn its back. Weeds crawled over the porch steps. The screen door hung open like a broken jaw. Inside, dust coated every surface. Childhood photos sat cracked in their frames. She found Daniela's room almost untouched, as if waiting. A notebook lay on the desk, pages torn out, but one entry remained. If I disappear, it's because I got too close. Don't trust them. Not all of them. Some wear the badge. Jessica closed the notebook. Her pulse quickened. Bayfield had buried her sister, but it hadn't buried the truth. And now, the digging began. Detective Elijah Brooks met Jessica the next morning, coffee in one hand, a worn file in the other. He looked like he hadn't slept, but then again, neither had she. Here's the original case file, he said, setting it on the hood of his cruiser. What little there was. Jessica flipped it open. Sparse. Vague timelines. No autopsy. No confirmed crime scene. A single line under last known location. Interview pending with landowner. Location unknown. Brooks leaned against the car. The old sheriff said she probably left town. No body, no crime. End of story. Jessica narrowed her eyes. There's a suppressed witness statement in here. He nodded. Someone came forward, young waitress at the time. Said she saw Daniela arguing with someone in uniform the night before she vanished. Report never made it past the first draft. Jessica stared at the name. Miranda Keene. They found Miranda Keene at a rundown trailer park outside town. She opened the door slowly, her face lined with age and fear, though she couldn't have been older than 45. I already told y'all what I saw, she murmured, eyes darting to the corners of the porch. Didn't matter back then. Doubt it matters now. Jessica stepped forward. It matters to me. I'm her sister. That changed something. Inside, Miranda fidgeted with a chipped mug. She came in for coffee, sat at the far booth, real focused, scribbling notes, watching people. Then that officer came in, Tony Delgado, said something to her. She got real pale, left a few minutes later. Jessica's jaw tightened. Did anyone follow her? Miranda nodded. A black SUV. Didn't recognize the driver, but the tag was government. That night, Brooks brought Jessica to Bayfield's old psychiatric hospital, a ghost of a place, half of it closed down. One of Daniela's sources had been committed there shortly after her disappearance. Name's Marvin Elkins, Brooks said. He used to work on some of the properties Daniela was investigating. Went mute 6 months after she vanished. Never spoke again. Marvin sat by the window in a faded hospital gown. Thin, gaunt, eyes like deep wells. Jessica approached slowly, holding up the Polaroids from the evidence box. One showed a wide farmhouse surrounded by dense trees. Faded shadows of men in the distance. Marvin blinked. Then, With trembling fingers, he pointed to a crack in the wall, stuffed with old drawings. Jessica pulled one out, a crude map, a compound, a tunnel system, a farmhouse marked with a red X. Jessica looked up. Where is this? Marvin's lips moved, but no sound came. He just pointed east. Tony Delgado had been transferred out of Bayfield in late 1991. Same month Daniela vanished. On paper, it looked like a promotion. But to Jessica, it read like a cover-up. She and Brooks found him at a bait shop off Route 9. Gray-bearded now, wearing mirrored sunglasses and an unreadable expression. Delgado didn't mind knowing Daniela. She was ambitious, he said. Didn't know when to stop digging. Did you warn her off? Jessica asked. He shrugged. Didn't need to. Chief DeWitt handled it. Brooks leaned forward. Where were you the night she disappeared? Delgado's jaw tensed. I followed orders. That's all I'll say. Jessica's voice was a whisper. Whose orders? But he said nothing more. Just turned and walked back into the shadows of the store. Back in the motel, Jessica replayed the tape, over and over, parsing each word. They warned me to leave it alone, but I can't. Too many girls. Too many names buried on land no one audits. She stopped, rewound. Girls. Daniela hadn't just been investigating land fraud. She was looking into disappearances. Jessica turned to Brooks. She found something bigger than land deals. She found a network. Brooks looked grim, and no one wanted it exposed. Not the sheriff, not the chief, not the judge who signed off on suppressing the witness. Jessica's heart pounded. Which judge? He hesitated. Judge Ronald Nash. Jessica clenched her fists. Nash had mentored her when she clerked. Even wrote her letters of recommendation. That betrayal cut deep. We have to find that farmhouse, she said. Brooks nodded. And we better move fast. Delgado's watching us now. Using Marvin's crude map and Daniela's Polaroids, Jessica and Brooks found it. The old farmhouse, half collapsed, lost in the woods east of Bayfield. It was just as Daniela had described in her notes. Barbed wire, broken glass, a place built not for living, but for hiding. Inside, the floors groaned with every step. Jessica found a cellar door, rusted shut. Brooks forced it open. The air hit them like a punch, musty wrong. There were chains bolted into the floor, and initials scratched into the walls. One of them read, D.H. Jessica swallowed hard. She was here. Jessica took photos of the room, while Brooks explored deeper into the shadows. They found a small rusted locker tucked into a false wall. Inside, water-damaged notebooks, old ID cards, and another cassette, this one labeled, Meeting MD. Back at the car, Jessica inserted the tape into the player. Daniela's voice again, tight with unease. I met with Chief DeWitt today. She offered me a job. Told me the story I was working on was above my pay grade. When I said no, she said something I can't forget. People disappear when they don't listen. You don't want to be another ghost in the marsh. Brooks gripped the steering wheel. She threatened her. Jessica nodded, and then she followed through. The old Bayfield Gazette office had abandoned behind the main square. Its windows boarded up, its sign faded. Jessica remembered visiting as a teen, watching her sister work late at her desk. Full of purpose, they broke in through a side door. Inside, mold and dust ruled. In Daniela's old desk drawer, Jessica found it, a sealed envelope addressed to her. Inside, a second tape, and a single line in Daniela's handwriting. If something happens to me, play this loud. The tape was clearer, a secret recording of a conversation between Daniela and Chief Margaret DeWitt. DeWitt's voice. You don't get it. The town needs these people. The businesses they bring. The deals they fund. You pull this thread, everything unravels. Daniela. Then maybe it needs to unravel. DeWitt, you've got no backup, girl. And no one here is going to save you. Silence. Then Daniela whispered, I'll save myself. Jessica stared down Brooks. Why didn't you tell me you were investigating DeWitt? He looked pained. I couldn't prove anything. Every time I got close, someone pushed back. I didn't even know about this tape. Then we're both in, she said. No turning back. They tracked Delgado's movements. For weeks he'd been laying low. But Jessica caught a lead. A gas station clerk had seen him buy tools and supplies. One item stood out, heavy-duty shovels. They followed him one night, out of town into the woods, headlights bouncing along a dirt road. Up ahead, a hunting cabin. Delgado and DeWitt were there, digging. Jessica and Brooks crept close, cameras ready, their breath fogged in the air. Delgado unearthed a crate, then another. Inside, bones wrapped in burlap, clothing, old jewelry. Jessica gasped. Among it, Daniela's necklace, the silver one she wore every day since their mother died. This was hers. This proved she never left. Brooks took photos quickly, but before they could retreat, a twig snapped beneath Jessica's boot. Delgado spun. DeWitt raised a flashlight, eyes narrowing. Go! Brooks shouted. A gunshot cracked the silence. Delgado fired wild into the dark. Brooks returned fire, hitting Delgado in the leg. They ran, carrying one crate between them, leaving the rest. Behind them, DeWitt screamed, You're dead! You don't know who you're messing with. They drove all night, not speaking until they hit the edge of Baton Rouge. Jessica looked out the window. She was buried, literally buried. And still, she found a way to scream. Brooks nodded. Now we make sure everyone hears it. Jessica stood in front of the local news station, her sister's tapes clutched in hand. They had proof now, not just suspicion, evidence. I'm not asking for airtime, she told the anchor. I'm demanding it. That night, the tapes aired live, Daniela's voice echoing across Bayfield for the first time in 13 years. The town watched in silence. Names dropped, threats recorded, evidence shown on screen. By morning, the governor had issued a statement. The FBI was en route, and every phone in Bayfield's courthouse rang off the hook. But Jessica knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Federal agents arrived with swift precision. Black SUVs, forensic trucks, K-9 units. The location Daniela had circled in her notes, a forgotten agricultural training facility on the outskirts of Bayfield, had long been shuttered. But Jessica knew what it really was. So did Brooks. They led the raid. SWAT teams breached the gates. The compound looked empty. Cracked walls, broken windows, rusted signage. But the real secrets were underground, in a storage shed disguised as a grain house. Agents uncovered a trapdoor. Below, a vast tunnel system. They found holding cells, mattresses on dirt floors, chains, a small surgical room. And then they found the girls. 8 alive, scared, thin. Some hadn't seen daylight in weeks. Others barely spoke. Jessica knelt beside a teenager with bruises on her arms and a tracking chip under the skin of her foot. The girl clutched a ragged teddy bear and whispered, Are you Daniela? Jessica froze. No, she said softly. I'm her sister. As forensics worked the site, Jessica wandered alone into a lower tunnel, drawn by something she couldn't explain. There, under layers of dirt and broken tile, she saw a name etched in the concrete. Sparrow. It was Daniela's code name, used in her private notes. She knelt, brushing away the dirt. Next to the name, a date, August 17th, 1991. There had been others, dozens, maybe more, names filed away, smuggled in and out like cargo. The paper trail had been erased, but the land still remembered. Above, agents unearthed crates of bones beneath a collapsed wing. Victims long forgotten. The cost of silence. Jessica stood in the middle of the wreckage. She tried to save them, she whispered. She died trying. Brooks came up behind her, holding a small Ziploc bag. Inside, a worn photograph. It was of Daniela pregnant. Jessica's heart stopped. She had a child, Brooks said, and she hid it. The child, one of the girls rescued, was 13. Her name was Lena. No last name. No birth certificate. Found locked in a room beneath the compound, protected, guarded, but untouched. Jessica visited her at the hospital. Lena sat quietly, sketching flowers with crayons. Jessica held up the photograph. "Do you know this woman?" Lena looked up. Her eyes, a mirror of Daniela's, widened. "She used to come to me at night," she whispered. "She sang songs when the bad people were gone. But one day, she didn't come back." Tears rolled down Jessica's cheeks. "She was your mother," she said. Lena tilted her head. "Are you my aunt?" Jessica nodded, and for the first time Lena smiled. Chief Margaret DeWitt fled Bayfield that same night. A speedboat out of a private dock, cash in a duffel bag, burner phones in tow. But she didn't get far. The Coast Guard intercepted her near the Mississippi line. When they arrested her, she was calm, almost smug. "You think locking me up changes anything?" she sneered. "This town wanted what I gave it. I just kept the dirt off the front porch." But her empire had collapsed. Delgado, arrested and wounded, flipped in exchange for a reduced sentence. He handed over everything: tapes, ledgers, payoffs, the names of judges, sheriffs, even a state senator. Jessica sat across from him one last time before his transfer. "You helped bury her," she said coldly. Delgado didn't look up. "You don't bury someone like Daniela Hale. You delay her." The town showed up in silence as Daniela Hale's remains were buried beside her parents, beneath a weeping oak that bent low over the family plot. Jessica stood before the crowd, a folded flag in her hands, and read a passage from Daniela's last known letter. "If I disappear, tell them I didn't go quietly. Tell them I looked the devil in the eyes and told him his time was up." The town wept, some with guilt, some with relief, some with shame that it took 13 years to listen. But they listened now, and they remembered. Jessica stood in the back of the gallery, Lena beside her, clutching her hand tightly. Cameras lined the walls. Reporters whispered into microphones. The air was thick with the weight of truth long buried. The judge, one of the few not implicated, read the list of charges like a funeral bell: human trafficking, conspiracy, obstruction, murder, abuse of authority. Margaret DeWitt sat at the defense table, unrepentant, eyes scanning the room with disdain. Her once polished uniform now a jumpsuit. Her smirk gone. Behind her, files piled up, statements from survivors, confessions from Delgado, records Daniela had hidden. The web had unraveled. Jessica gave testimony, clear, firm, tearless. She played Daniela's tapes in court. Her sister's voice echoed to the chambers like prophecy. They thought Bayfield was a quiet place. But quiet only means no one screaming. Not that nothing's wrong. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, the town did not cheer. They sat in silence, as if mourning the town they thought they knew. Over a dozen officials were indicted, including 2 city councilmen, 3 officers, a judge, and a senator. Businesses folded. Properties were seized. Hidden tunnels and compounds were demolished under federal order. Bayfield was no longer a name whispered in the context of tragedy. It was now a symbol of reckoning. Jessica helped each survivor file suit, set up new identities, rebuild what had been taken. She worked quietly deliberately refusing interviews. The spotlight wasn't hers. It had always belonged to Daniela. Months later, in a renovated schoolhouse just outside town, Jessica unveiled the Sparrow Foundation, a nonprofit to investigate rural corruption, fund independent journalists, and provide legal aid to survivors of abuse. She stood at the podium, Lena by her side. She was no longer a disgraced prosecutor. She was a woman who exposed the system and resurrected a voice thought lost. "We failed my sister in life," Jessica said to the gathered crowd. "We will not fail the others." Behind her hung a large black and white photo of Daniela, holding a camera, eyes locked forward. She warned them, Jessica said. They didn't listen, but they're listening now. Jessica had bought it. The old childhood home, gutted and rebuilt. No more boarded windows. No more ghosts. Only sunlight through fresh curtains and the sound of life returning. One evening, Lena asked, was she scared? Jessica paused. Probably, but she did it anyway. She was brave, Lena said. She was... Later, alone in her room, Jessica opened the last cassette. One Daniela had recorded for herself. For no one, maybe everyone, her voice was calm. No fear. If you're hearing this, I guess I didn't make it. But don't feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for the ones who thought I'd go away. Truth isn't polite. It's not quiet. It's fire. And fire leaves light behind. Jessica sat by the window, watching the breeze through the trees. I hear you, she whispered, loud and clear. Footage of Bayfield healing, boarded buildings being repainted, survivors laughing together, kids biking past the courthouse. Some stories don't get neat endings.